The A-10 is in action in Iran. I'm not surprised. It's just so good at what it does. Like when it comes to air support, I don't think there's many planes that provide it so reliably and in a deadly fashion as the A-10. But how are they being used? Like, are they just strictly doing air support, or are they, as the title suggests, actually hunting down like enemy fighters?
Why the A-10 Thunderbolt is suited for the Strait of Hormuz. While the U.S. Air Force has been trying to retire the aging A-10 for years to free up budget for fifth-generation stealth fighters like the F-35. However, the unique geography and asymmetric threats of the Strait of Hormuz have made the Warthog temporarily indispensable. They fly low and can slow down the flight speed. Modern jets often fly too fast and high to effectively track small, agile boats swarming in a tight littoral coastal environment. The A-10 is built to fly close to the surface, allowing pilots to visually identify and engage small, erratic targets.
Right.
One of the main advantages is that it also has massive loiter time. The A-10 can circle above the strait for hours. This persistent overwatch allows them to wait patiently for IRGC boats to emerge from hidden coastal inlets before striking. As we also know, the strait is...
The sound of that gun on the A-10 is just ridiculous. That machine gun, oh my god.
Heavily defended by man-portable air defense systems and small arms fire. To counter small firearms, the A-10's titanium bathtub cockpit armor and redundant flight systems allow it to absorb heavy anti-aircraft fire and keep flying, a risk the military is less willing to take with the F-35 $100 million stealth fighter jet. But the A-10s are not operating in alone. They are currently acting as part of a layered tactical network, working directly alongside Apache attack helicopters, which are also hunting boats and intercepting one-way attack drones in the Strait of Hormuz. So, why exactly is the military keeping the A-10 in the fight? It all comes down to the rugged engineering behind its airframe. But to see why this plane refuses to die, we first have to crack it open and understand how it actually works.
Because the A-10's been around for so long, it's at least 50 years old at this point, right?
The A-10 is a ground attack aircraft primarily constructed from aluminum alloys. Its airframe consists of multiple independent beams that run along the length of the fuselage and wings, providing exceptional structural integrity. Since these aircraft operate at very low altitudes to support ground troops, they often face intense enemy fire. To withstand such conditions, the A-10 is designed with a rugged airframe capable of absorbing significant battle damage. It features extensive armor protection around the cockpit, and the glass is also bulletproof and other critical components, making it exceptionally durable for close air support missions. In fact, the A-10's cockpit is encased in titanium armor, also called the bathtub, weighing approximately 1,200 pounds, which translates 540 kilograms, allowing it to withstand heavy impacts and continue flying even in hostile environments.
So are other planes like the F-35, they're not quite as durable as this one? Don't they have a similar bathtub situation where the pilot is in some kind of thick shell?
Let's start from the front. This aircraft, along with its entire frame, was built specifically to accommodate this massive gun. Because of that, the landing gear had to be pushed to the sides.
Wow.
To give you an idea of its scale, let's compare it to a person. You can see just how huge it is. From this top angle, you'll notice that the gun is slightly off-center. This is named as the GAU-8 Avenger, a 30mm cannon, and it's actually angled downward by a few degrees. The GAU-8 Avenger uses a 7-barrel Gatling design where barrels rotate around a central axis. Each barrel fires sequentially, allowing rapid cooling between shots and reducing wear. The rotation is powered by dual hydraulic motors producing 77 horsepower, which spin the barrels at high speeds, achieving a rate of fire of 3,900 rounds per minute, down from an initial 4,200 revolutions per minute to...
That's crazy. 4,000 rounds a minute. That's like 100 and something rounds a second? No, about 80 rounds a second. That's insane.
Extend barrel life. It also employs a double-ended, linkless feed system that cycles spent casings back into the drum magazine instead of ejecting them. This prevents imbalances in the aircraft's center of gravity and avoids debris ingestion by engines. The drum holds up to 1,174 rounds, typically loaded with 1,150, and requires a specialized reloading, a process that can take hours due to the system's complexity. The gun generates 10,045 kilonewton of recoil, more than one of the A-10's TF-34 engines, which produces 9,065 pounds each. To counteract this, the gun is mounted off-center slightly to the port side.
But why?
This design balances recoil forces, preventing pitch or yaw deviations during firing. The reason for the high recoil is because of the size of these rounds. For reference, this is a standard bullet. Right next to it is a 50 caliber round. Finally, this is the massive 30mm bullet used in the GAU-8 Avenger.
So the A-10 could spit out 4,000 of these bad boys every minute? Hell no.
To put things into perspective, let's compare it to the size of a human hand, and it is enormous.
God. That'll take your head clean off. To
help you understand better, this is a cross-section of an armor-piercing incendiary round made with a depleted uranium penetrator. Just below that is the jacket, followed by a tracer round, propellant charge, and finally the electric primer. When fired, it can pass through 38mm of steel when fired from a range of 1,000 meters.
So 4 centimeters of steel.
Moving back to the front, the two objects positioned just above the gun and the forward radar warning receiver. To create a 360-degree protection, these are also fitted on the wings on each side and finally on the tip of the tail. They are essential for a ground attack jet, as heat-seeking missiles always pose a potential threat. When a target is locked by radar and illuminated by a continuous wave or pulse Doppler signal, used for missiles with a semi-active radar seeker, these radar warning receivers pick it up. The HUD and display unit alert the pilot and activate countermeasures such as flares to confuse incoming missiles, helping to prevent a fatal crash.
But because the plane's like so old compared to, the F-35 and stuff, is the radar cloaking technology and all that stuff, have they been able to upgrade that, or are they flying with 50-year-old technology? Because that might make them more visible to the enemy and stuff.
Even for civilians, there are countless bad actors targeting our computers, which is why we need a defense mechanism. Just like the A-10 Thunderbolt's multi-targeting radar. Similarly, this VPN identifies and open this hatch, you'll find a ladder, which makes this one of the few military jets with a built-in way to climb straight into the cockpit. Once inside, you'll notice everything's clearly labeled with most of its parts, so feel free to take your time exploring before we dive into learning how to fire the GAU-8 Avenger cannon.
Man, these are so many dials. I mean, this is just... I can see why it takes so long for pilots to become qualified.
Right in front of you are the center stick controls. The red button on top is the weapon release, and just below that, you'll find the trigger for the gun. To use the GAU-8, first flip the red gun safety switch to Gun Pack ARM. This activates both the cannon and the precision attack control system. Once you've locked onto a target, line up the upper dot of the reticle and hold down the first stage trigger on the target as shown here. When you're within a mile of the target, pull the trigger all the way. This unleashes a barrage of rounds powerful enough to take out tanks or lightly armored vehicles. Now that you've got the hang of the gun, let's talk about dropping bombs in case you come across one of these. For a bombing run, the pilot arcs into a semicircular dive toward the target but releases the bomb halfway through the maneuver.
I see, so the bombs aren't targeted, you have to aim them.
Thanks to physics, the bomb inherits the plane's forward speed at that moment, meaning it keeps flying ahead at the same velocity. With GPS guidance, it then glides precisely to its target.
Oh, so it does have GPS
Inside the
guidance.
cockpit, let's take a look at the process of dropping gravity bombs. This is the velocity vector, indicates the direction your aircraft is currently moving. Just below it is the computer-calculated impact point. The large line extending outward represents the projected weapon fall line. Here you can see the weapon selection symbology, and just below it, the selected weapon. In this case, the Mark 82 bomb. Now, the most important part to ensure accuracy, align the computer-calculated impact point with the velocity vector of the aircraft, while also making sure the projected weapon straight line with the target. This is what the impact fall line would look like. Keep in mind that these Mark 82 bombs are often equipped with a GPS guidance kit for greater precision.
Wow, there's so much technology in all aspects of these planes, like not just the planes, but the bombs as well.
When the targeting symbology aligns over the target, the pilot presses the top release button on the control stick. From that moment, physics, gravity, and the GPS bomb kit take over, guiding it toward its mark. Let's consider this scenario, supporting ground troops who are under heavy fire and pinned down by armored tanks and heavy artillery bombardment. It all begins with reconnaissance or troops that needed fire support. They scan the battlefield, pinpointing enemy positions and relaying vital intelligence with precise coordinates. Once the plan is in place, the A-10s take off and head toward the target area. Flying at low altitudes, they use terrain features for cover, avoiding enemy radar detection. Throughout the approach, they maintain constant communication with ground units, receiving real-time updates and adjusting their tactics as needed. As they close in, the A-10s unleash their iconic Gaui Avenger cannons, tearing through armored vehicles and artillery positions.
Just hearing those, like, you know, those machine guns, like, from a distance, you'd have to be hard as nails to not be terrified. Like, to stay, like, on the ground, you know, going after these A-10s, you would have to be, like, almost insane to, like, not run away.
But they need to change their strategy against heavily armored targets. They can use guided munitions or Hellfire missiles for moving targets, delivering devastating precision against enemy tanks. Smoke rises from the battlefield as the Thunderbolts rain down their firepower. But their mission doesn't end with the initial strike. The A-10s remain on station, providing critical close air support. As ground troops push forward, the pilots stay ready to respond instantly to enemy resistance and clear the path ahead. The A-10's engines are mounted high on the fuselage, a design choice that helps reduce the risk of damage from foreign objects when flying in partially damaged airports. This is how it works. The fan rotor draws in ambient air, which undergoes powerful compression in both the low-pressure and high-pressure compressors.
Why is there so much of a push to retire the A-10? If they're so effective and they're so much cheaper than the new, like, fighter jets, why not just keep them and, you know, maybe order less F-35s and F-22s or whatever else is, you know, swallowing up all the money? Like, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Subsequently, the air enters the combustor, where fuel injection occurs. This process generates a continuous combustion of fuel and air, reaching temperatures about 1,000 degrees Celsius. The resultant heat causes the gas to expand, leading it to escape from the combustor with high energy, flowing through both the high and low pressure turbines. As a consequence, the turbine blades rotate. The energy liberated by this process drives both the compressor and the fan. Finally, the remaining exhaust gases exit through the nozzle, generating thrust. Unlike traditional jet engines, the TF-34G100 produces relatively cooler and slower-moving exhaust, reducing its heat signature and making the A-10 harder to detect with infrared sensors.
Wow.
All the power...
Whoever designed this back in the 70s or whatever, they deserve a round of applause because, I mean, 50, 60 years later, it's still being able to, like, not only do the job, but do it really well. Or have they been able to upgrade it, you know, as time has gone by?
Generated by the engine needs fuel, and they comes from these four compartmentalized self-sealing tanks. Here you'll find the forward fuel tank 1 and the rear fuel tank number 2. Moving to the sides, you'll see 2 additional wing fuel tanks. Opening this lid reveals the single-point refueling section. Through this refueling point, you can pump in up to 11,000 pounds of aircraft fuel. To put that into perspective, that's enough to fill about 20 school buses, assuming they use the same fuel type and each has an 80-gallon tank. These are the flaps on the A-10. When extended, they increase the wing's surface area and curve.
Where's the fuel tank? Like, it doesn't look like this plane should be able to take that much fuel.
Curvature, allowing the aircraft to maintain controlled flight during takeoff, landing, and slow-speed maneuvers. Here are the slats. These help manage airflow over the wings, especially at high angles of attack, ensuring the aircraft remains stable and controllable even during sharp turns or aggressive maneuvers. The rudder, mounted on the vertical stabilizer at the tail, is the A-10's primary means of controlling yaw, the side-to-side movement of the aircraft's nose. Finally, the air brakes are one of the A-10's most distinctive features. These large panels extend from the fuselage just behind the wings, creating significant drag. They allow the A-10 to transition from high-speed flight to low-speed maneuvering without compromising stability, making them an indispensable tool for close air support missions. In case the military needs you, let's go over how to start this plane. First, set the inverter to standby, then turn on the battery power. Next, start the APU or auxiliary power unit. Wait for the APU gauge to reach 100%. Now start the left engine by setting the throttle to the idle position. Once the left engine is running smoothly, start the right engine.
Wow.
After
Pretty
both engines are
complicated.
up and running, turn off the APU. Finally, set all displays to either day or night mode depending on your needs. And just like that, full throttle and raising the control unit and you're ready to go. We make original videos from scratch and animate.
Wow, what an amazing plane. And I'm sure it's in use in the Strait of Hormuz, like for sure, because it seems like, although it's so capable, because if, let's say, one gets shot down, it's not the end of the world in terms of the finances and the technology, because the F-35 probably has a lot of like tech that the US and its allies wouldn't want in the hands of its enemies. So whereas if an A-10 got shot down, I'm sure there's probably been A-10s shot down before already. So it's not like they'd be losing a lot of like proprietary tech. There might be some, to be fair, but they're more replaceable, it seems. And I think the F-35s are like $100 million plane. Like an A-10's got to be, what, maybe a tenth of that, maybe even less than that. But still super duper capable. It's ridiculous how it's lasted this long. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and check out the video I'm going to link right below this one. See you there.